Okay, welcome into this Friday edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. We have some major Niners injury news to get to going into this Week 4 game against the New England Patriots and for the long haul for this football team. And I hope you're all having a great Friday and you're getting set to have a stupendous weekend. If you want Niners shows every single day, by the way, from yours truly, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Anytime I'm talking Niners, I try to be as informative, insightful, thought-provoking as possible, but also I want you to have a voice. I want you to be a part of the show. So if all that sounds good, hit that subscribe button. As for the latest Niners injury news, there is so much to get to, and you don't want to miss what we're going to break down here. The arrow is pointing up, surprisingly, for both tight end George Kittle and wide receiver Deebo Samuel to potentially return Sunday against New England. Kittle missed the Week 3 game against the Rams due to a hamstring issue. Deebo Samuel was out because of that calf injury, and Adam Schefter just said on the Pat McAfee show moments ago that he believes both have an opportunity and a chance to play on Sunday against New England. This comes after Deebo returned to practice surprisingly yesterday, and then George Kittle returned to practice a little bit earlier this week. With Kittle, there was really no definitive timeline, but after Deebo got hurt against Minnesota, Kyle Shanahan had said, we expect him to be out at least the next 2 games, which would have meant Rams week, Patriots week, but now both Kittle and Deebo Samuel have an opportunity to play in this game. And of course, the addition of one or both would greatly benefit this Niners offense, which is still second in the league in EPA. Brock Purdy statistically has been one of the more elite quarterbacks in the NFL. He actually has the highest passing grade among all quarterbacks in the league, according to Pro Football Focus. And then pretty much every major statistical category, he's top 5, top 10, once again, like he was last year when he was top 5 in MVP voting. Those who aren't convinced that he's an elite quarterback, I just don't understand what these people are seeing. They are lying to themselves, and they're trying to come up with any type of narrative that they can, which can potentially prove themselves to be right because they probably wrote off Brock Purdy right from the jump. But Purdy is an elite quarterback in this league. He's a top 10 player at his position. He's shown that the last year and a half as a starter and in the first 3 games of this year. And of course, the Niners offense has not been the issue to start the 2024 campaign. It's been a pathetic defense and an even worse special teams unit. But when you can get Deebo Samuel and George Kittle back, it's a boost for your offensive unit. Last week, though, we saw Brock Purdy is capable of carrying an offense. He was great, 22 of 30, nearly 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, making plays in the pocket, out of the pocket, with his legs. Juwan Jennings had a career day. Purdy was spreading the ball around, had total command of this offense. I thought it was really impressive because so many people who don't believe in Purdy wanted to see what he could do without the Avengers around him, the star players around him. He performs well, and people still are trying to find excuses for why he's not legit. It is what it is. Those of you who know that Brock Purdy is a legitimate quarterback in this league, you're on the right side of history. And when it pertains to this Niners-Patriots matchup, it is a very interesting matchup between San Francisco and New England with the Niners offense and the Patriots defense. The Patriots defensive rankings. These numbers are pretty interesting, and we've talked about these digits over the last couple of days in the lead up to this Week 4 tilt. The Patriots are only giving up 19 points per game. That's 10th in the NFL. They're only surrendering 2 touchdowns per game. That's 11th. They are 19th in yards per game allowed at 327.3. They're giving up 5.3 yards per play. That's 17th, so right around the middle of the pack among the 32 teams in the league. They have been bad on third downs, just like this Niners defense. Their third down conversion percentage allowed is 29th at 51.2%. And I think the Niners are going to be able to move the football. But to me, what's so key about this game, and I have a preview coming out a little bit later here on this Friday, is the Niners being able to capitalize in the red zone and not turning the football over. The Patriots have been a defensive unit that will surrender yards but doesn't give up a lot of points. Again, 10th in points per game, and they don't give up a lot of touchdowns. Only 2 per game. That's 11th in the league, but they're 19th in yards, 17th in yards per play, and 29th in third down conversion rate. And they also don't give up a lot of explosive pass plays. Yards on 10-plus yard throws. The 49ers have the most in the National Football League with 581, the fewest allowed in the league. The New England Patriots with just 84. So this is a good offensive versus defensive matchup between Kyle Shanahan, the offensive mind, and Gerard Mayo, the defensive mind. As for the latest on Christian McCaffrey, according to Eric Branch of the San Francisco Chronicle, the 49ers will have to wait a little bit longer than expected for McCaffrey's return after Eric spoke with Dr. Kenton Feibel, who is the medical director of the Anaheim Ducks, and he specializes in orthobiologics. McCaffrey did go to Germany last weekend to seek a treatment on his lingering Achilles issue. We had talked earlier this week about the medical elements of this. There are limitations for PRP injections in the United States, and there are limitations for the treatment options that athletes and all people can get in America. This is why sometimes people will go international for the platelet-rich plasma injections, stem cell treatments for whatever reason. And our medical system obviously has come into question over time. These treatments are not the same in America as compared to internationally. And internationally, they're a little bit more advanced and capable of doing a little bit more as far as dosages and the treatment. We relayed the long explanation from Jeff Mueller, who's a doctor of physical therapy, earlier this week, so be sure to check that video out. I put it up on my X page as well, and Jeff Mueller had quote tweeted that. He retweeted it and said that was a great breakdown from me. So that's kind of the thought process there. But McCaffrey's visit, according to Dr. Kenton Feibel, suggests that he has a more serious injury. Now, Jeff Mueller didn't say that. He doesn't think that this is a doomsday scenario. He just thinks that McCaffrey is trying to seek a better option. So remember this. When you go to a doctor, you're always looking for a doctor's opinion, right? And then if you go to one doctor, sometimes you seek a second doctor's opinion. So these doctors have different opinions. That's another funny element of medicine and medical care, is that because these things are so nuanced, like sometimes it can come down to doctors' opinions. So Jeff Mueller has his opinion, Kenton Feibel has his opinion, and he suggests maybe McCaffrey has a more serious injury, perhaps an issue that includes microscopic tears in the tendon that hasn't responded well to initial treatment methods and won't resolve within a few weeks with rest. And given the nature of the Achilles, a weight-bearing tender, Feibel said McCaffrey would likely be sidelined for at least a month and probably closer to a couple of months if he had an orthobiological procedure. And then here's this quote. I think it more suggests that this is an injury that they think they are going to need something more to augment his healing that may require weeks or a couple of months rather than a week or two. This may be something where you realize the pathology is a little bit more serious and reserve a way to allow him to return this season, even if it does take a month or two with him needing a longer recovery. When the Niners initially put McCaffrey on IR, I did pass along the reporting from Ian Rappaport that he could be out about 6 weeks. So that kind of fits that timeline, and I don't think there's any need to really rush McCaffrey back. I know that a lot of you who have him on your fantasy teams, whether it's a keeper league or you drafted him this year, are very frustrated. A lot of you have pointed to the Madden curse. You can go that route if you want to. But with McCaffrey, he's a 28-year-old running back. He had the most touches in the NFL last year. He won NFL Offensive Player of the Year, more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. He's had some injuries throughout his career. Luckily for the Niners, since the trade, he was extremely healthy and durable up to this point. But why risk furthering an Achilles injury? It just doesn't make any sense. What is also interesting, though, is what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have said about McCaffrey going to Germany, because Shanahan said we're going to try to ramp him up sooner rather than later to see where he is. And then John Lynch said that McCaffrey, during his hit on KNBR this morning, is back in the Bay Area, and the hope has been for the Achilles inflammation, which flared up before McCaffrey went on IR, to quiet down, and then hopefully he can come back at some point. And John Lynch said now we can start the process of building back up. But if he builds back up and there still continues to be pain and a lingering problem, obviously that's a huge problem for San Francisco. Other injury news here. So Jordan Elliott, who is going to take over for Javon Hargrave after his season-ending torn triceps, he's going to get more opportunities. He's more of a run-stuffing defensive tackle. He was a limited participant in practice on Thursday. A foot injury for him. It seems as though that injury is not that severe. There were conflicting reports about whether or not he was limited or he got carted off. John Lynch with some positivity on that front. Linebacker Curtis Robinson, though, who I thought had a great preseason and training camp. I thought he could have had more linebacking opportunities because Devondre Campbell and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles just have not been it. And I think the D Winners can get some more snaps too because he adds juice alongside Fred Warner. But Curtis Robinson, during special teams drills yesterday, had to get carted off. So we're not sure what the exact injury is, what the severity is, but it doesn't really sound good. And then Ricky Pearsall, he could have his practice window opened next week, which would clear the way for his return maybe against Arizona in week 5, maybe beyond that. When the practice window is open, you have to activate that player within a couple of weeks. But this is the last week of Ricky Pearsall's IR stint. He had to miss the first 4 games. This would signal the 4th game of Ricky Pearsall being out. So a lot of injury news on the Niners front on this Friday, September 27th. Thanks to everybody for watching. Hope that you were informed. I'm going to be dropping a Niners-Patriots preview a little bit later today, and I'm about to go on live for my weekly hit with Larry Krueger, the Bay Area sports talk radio legend who's back on KNBR Monday through Friday, and obviously has one of the top Niners YouTube channels out there on the internet. I'm Chase Senior. This is the 49ers Report. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Plenty of content to come, so be on the lookout for that. And we'll be live for another watch party on Sunday.